So what is Tempe Accelerates?
This is a wonderful opportunity to give the presenters and the various areas that are presenting your comments. That's really what this is all about. This is a constructive process to help all the different areas of the city come together and help us all achieve our goals.
Tempe Accelerates is a way to present our overarching goals and achievements to make Tempe a better place.
We will be discussing the cardiac arrest survival rates and our council priority of being safe and secure.
These measurable goals operationalize the 5 council priorities for our cities, such as safe and secure communities, quality of life, sustainable growth and development, financial stability and vitality, and strong community connections.
So our performance measure is number 4.11 to achieve a tree canopy of 25 trees per acre on our as an average on our city properties.
This is an opportunity for the community and Tempe employees to participate by offering ideas and solutions, as well as asking questions about how to reach our targets.
I'm going to talk about 2 performance measures that focus on energy. The first one is energy reduction. So this is a dashboard showing the Kiwanis Recreation Center after the solar carports were installed, and the pink area shows you all the energy consumption at the Kiwanis Rec Center, and the green bars show the solar panels, the solar energy production.
The sessions consist of presentations from different departments and partners that show the goal's current measure as well as our target for the future. The departments also discuss the efforts and strategies we are making in order to achieve our desired performance.
And so we have a very visionary goal, and that is to reduce fatal and serious injury crashes to 0.
So we're here to talk about feeling of safety in parks, and the specific council priority that looks at or is under is safe and secure communities.
Join us for Tempe Accelerates, a series of data-driven collaborative strategy sessions to explore how these goals help the community and what we can do to reach our targets.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Tempe Accelerates for Thursday, March 18th, 2021. We have a couple of really great presentations for you today regarding performance measure 3.28, ending homelessness, and 3.20, Dementia Friendly Community designation. These presentations will be approximately 10 minutes each. You can ask questions in the Q&A feature of the Teams application. We will have the presenters respond after the presentation. You can find that feature in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. If you're asking about a specific slide in the presentation, please give us that slide number so we can show it during the response. A feedback survey will be available on our website. We'll provide the link in the Q&A, and we would appreciate that you fill that out. In addition, we will provide links to our performance measures dashboard so you can explore others you might be interested in. There may also be some time delays along the way, or possibly technical challenges as we go through the presentations, and we appreciate your patience as we work through those. This is, I believe, the 3rd or the 4th of these that we've done, and they've gone remarkably well from a technological standpoint, and I really want to thank all the staff that's worked on those so diligently to make sure that this is something that we can stream live, and of course it will be available on Tempe 11 website for future viewing if you so choose. So let's go ahead without further ado and move to the first presentation regarding ending homelessness. Today we have Kelly Denman and Nicole Stevens.
Hi, I'm Kelly Denman with the City of Tempe's Homeless Outreach Program. I'm one of the Homeless Outreach Specialists.
Hi, I'm Nikki Stevens. I'm the Homeless Solutions Supervisor for the City of Tempe. Let's get started. Next slide, please. So our performance measure is ending homelessness 3.28. This is an achievement to end homelessness in Tempe as measured by Tempe's annual count. City of Tempe is committed to a wide range of inclusive programs and services to assist individuals and families to improve their quality of life. The Homeless Solutions Division is a part of the larger continuum of care within the Human Services Department to support individuals and families who are experiencing homelessness. Next slide, please. I want to explain the functional 0. The Human Services Department is committed to achieve and sustain functional 0. This is a well-coordinated and efficient community system that assures homelessness is a rare brief, and one-time experience in our community. That means, number one, that homelessness does not happen often. Number two, people who become homeless are connected to shelter and housing as soon as possible. And number three, people who are housed do not return to homelessness. Slide number next slide, please.
So a few of the ways that we do this is with the Hope Outreach team. So the homeless outreach team goes out into the community and meets the individual where they're at. When we're out with them, we provide housing assessments, which are known as a VI SPDAT. And then we also can provide individuals with those basic needs, hygiene products, socks, things of that nature. While we're engaging with the folks out in an encampment or out on the streets, we also offer shelter services and work directly with our partners in the community to get folks off the streets and into shelter. Another thing that we have done as the Hope Outreach team has been able to engage individuals in the mental health court system. So a lot of our individuals in the mental health court that are experiencing homelessness also get that housing assessment, and we can move on and get them connected to services from there, such as like IDs, birth certificates, social security cards. All of these things are necessary and vital in getting folks into housing.
Next slide, please. So I call this our stories of hope. So this is Bob's story. This is Bob and his dog Beth. Bob is a diabetic amputee. Bob was homeless in and around Tempe for many years and frequented the Tempe Public Library. But when COVID hit, everything was shut down, so Bob wasn't able to access the library anymore. However, the city of Tempe created cooling centers, and so Bob started attending the Pile Cooling Center. That's where he met the Hope staff. While he was with the Hope staff, they assisted him with obtaining his vital documents, advocating and assisted him in finding housing. And so now Bob is safely housed in his own apartment in Maricopa County. Bob is just a small example of the hundreds and hundreds of people that are served by the Hope Outreach team throughout the year. Next slide, please. We know that racial disparities exist within the homeless response system. The Hope Homeless Outreach Team is committed to creating a diverse work group made up of people having lived experience, as well as a wide variety of backgrounds. This means continuously celebrating an inclusive environment that represents the people we serve. As shown on this slide, of the people experiencing homelessness within the city of Tempe within the last year, Black and Native American populations experience homelessness at a higher rates in comparison to their actual general population. In the general population, Blacks are a little over 6% of the population, and Native Americans are a little over 2% of the population. But as you see in the slide, Blacks are at 22% of the population of the people experiencing homelessness, and Native Americans are at 6% of that population. Tempe has assisted and was a part of the creation of the Racial Equity Plan that was recently been adopted by the Maricopa Associations of Governments to address any inequities within our homeless response system. Next slide, please. In this slide, it represents the ethnicities of the people that the Hope team has served in the last year as well. Next slide, please. In this slide, this represents the gender of the individuals we serve. As you can see, we do mostly serve males, but we have been seeing an increase of females experiencing homelessness, and we are working to create an equitable system that serves everybody. Next slide, please.
These are some of the targets to get to the functional zero, making homelessness rare, brief, and one time. Nikki's going to explain some of these strategies in the next slide.
Next slide, please. So under the strategies, the 6 strategies that we have created to accelerate and end homelessness, the first one is to increase the dedicated homeless outreach teams in our city parks. Our recommendation is to increase the homeless outreach team, the HOPE team, by 5 positions, 4 outreach specialists and 1 coordinator. The second is to ensure 24/7 mental health and substance use response and support. Our recommendation is to add 5 additional Care 7 crisis intervention specialist positions to support HOPE and the entire city of Tempe. Number 3 is to enhance park and desert preserve maintenance and cleanup efforts. Our recommendation is to increase park maintenance by 1 park supervisor position dedicated to desert park and preserves and reoccurring funding for ongoing upkeep. Number 4 is to communicate initiatives, engage neighborhoods and stakeholders, and solicit community feedback. Our recommendation is to increase communication and media relations by 1 PIO position and operating budget for a freelance videography and digital media expertise. Number 5 is to refine our park security through unarmed G4S deployment. Our recommendation is to continue the collaborative work between Tempe Parks police officers, HOPE, and add an additional layer of park security through G4S. Number 6 is to provide necessary shelter for individuals and families experiencing homelessness in the city of Tempe. These 6 shelter strategies have been identified that would provide shelter space for as many as 400 individuals if fully implemented. Next slide, please. In this slide, this demonstrates our rare, brief, and one time. So we feel, as with the strategies that we have presented, we would be able to increase our outcomes and of course, increase housing opportunities for individuals experiencing homelessness. And the number one thing is to keep people housed as well. So to increase our retention rates. So these are our rare, brief, and one-time strategies that we feel will help accelerate our ending homelessness in the city of Tempe. Thank you. Next slide, please. And if you have any of your other ideas to assist us in this acceleration, here's our contact information. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Aaron Peterson, and I'm with the Office of Strategic Management and Diversity, and I've been monitoring the questions as they've been coming in. I wanted to remind you that you can ask using the Q&A feature in the upper right-hand corner, and I'll be so that the others can answer those questions as they come in. The first one that I have is, what services does the HOPE outreach team provide?
Thank you. Yes, some of the services that the HOPE outreach team provides, of course, is going out and meeting that client exactly where they're at that moment. So engaging with folks, providing what's called a VI SPDAT. What that is basically a housing assessment, and that gets individuals onto the list and gets their names on there so they can start working towards their housing. We need IDs and social security cards and birth certificates for some of these housing programs. So the HOPE team works very hard on getting individuals document ready. We provide individuals with an ID voucher and even a PO box so they can have their IDs mailed to us. And then we can work on getting folks into shelter while they're waiting for their housing vouchers and get them off of the streets.
Thank you. Next question is, how can I help people experiencing homelessness?
So one of the things I do recommend is people do not give to panhandlers. That kind of keeps people from engaging in services with the HOPE outreach team because they're getting their needs met by panhandling. So if they're able to engage in services with us, that's very helpful because we can start to work on resolving their homelessness and working on those solutions. The second thing I would recommend is that you support the nonprofits in the city of Tempe that already do serve people experiencing homelessness, such as Tempe Community Action Agency and our local Salvation Army.
Thank you. And the next question is, how does HOPE work with other departments within the city?
So the HOPE team works very closely with the Tempe Police Department. We work with them on our encampment process. We work with the fire department also on individuals that are continually hitting the hospitals or are frequent users of services. So we can engage with those folks and getting them into safe places and off of the street so they won't be utilizing those services. And we also work very closely with community services, again, on our encampment protocol that we have for the city of Tempe.
Thank you. And I'll remind those in the audience that, again, you can use the Q&A feature upper right-hand corner. I've also posted in there the 2 links for you that Andrew mentioned in the introduction. You can access the survey when the presentation really feedback text. I encourage you to do that. And then also you can see the schedule for upcoming presentations for more Accelerates models. And in addition to that, any other performance measures you'd like to know more about, we also have a link for our dashboard that you can really get some great information from all of the performance measures that we're focusing on. One other thing that I'll share too is that if a question occurs to you on this presentation later, please feel free to send that in. If we have time after the second presentation, we'd be glad to come back to Candace and Nicole, or excuse me, Nicole and missed the name there, Kelly, and have them answer that at that point. Having said that, I've got a couple more that come in. What is being done with the campers next to the 525 building? The number of tents have been increasing and walking around the area is difficult.
So we do have a plan in place, and we are working closely with the Tempe Police Department on that plan. We also have the Hope Outreach team out there every single day and trying to engage people with services. It is something that is a constant rapport building and developing a relationship with individuals, building trust so that they're able to accept those services. So we are actively working on that. It is something that is high on our radar. We are there. The homeless outreach team is there, out there every single day, trying to engage with individuals.
Thank you. The next one that's come in is, can you explain how Hope services compare to CHOOTS and CBI models?
What was the first model?
It's CHOOTS, CHOOTS.
Oh, CAHOOTS.
CAHOOTS, okay.
Okay, yes. So I can explain that. For the Hope Outreach team, connects people to behavioral health services. We also work very closely with the Care 7 team, and the Care 7 team is our crisis response team. So Hope provides the outreach and supportive services and the housing piece to individuals experiencing homelessness. Care 7 provides that behavioral health and substance use piece. So it is a collective interdepartmental collaboration, and we also work directly with our fire department, as well as Kelly had mentioned, on those high utilizers. So I don't know if I want to, I think that what we do internally is scalable to other cities, but we are unique where we have our own outreach team that is actually a part of the Human Services Department, where we feel that the rapport and the service delivery is actually a model that is a way for people to get services quicker versus, connecting with other outside agencies such as CBI.
Thank you. The next one is a congratulatory, so I'll read that to you. Great work, Team Tempe. You guys are amazing. Thank you. So appreciate that coming in as well. The next question is a homeless shelter being planned in Tempe to help them?
I don't, we did create a model right now that we are utilizing hotel rooms as an emergency shelter. That way we can serve multiple populations, such as families, disabled. So it's not just a one-size-fits-all model. So we're able to serve multitudes of people, but I can't really answer that at this point right now. But that is our recommendation, is to create a shelter model. I don't know what that would look like right now, but there's our recommendation.
And thank you. The next one is, speaking of panhandling, I have noticed other cities in the valley posting signs at corners of freeways or common corners. Is the Tempe looking to do the same? Are they effective in posting no panhandling signs?
So I did do some research on that, and I've talked to the city of Scottsdale, city of Chandler, and other places regarding their signage. They don't know if it's really been effective. However, as the city of Tempe, we are looking at ways to educate the public. From my standpoint, the panhandlers wouldn't be there if people were not giving them money. So I think by educating the public and making sure that they're aware that sometimes that keeps them homeless a lot longer because they're less likely to engage with services. I think it starts with that piece. So there is a plan in place that I'm working with our PIO through a Healthy Giving Council to educate the community about healthy ways that they can give back to people experiencing homelessness and how to support our nonprofits in the community, because that is really the way, allowing the professionals to work with those individuals to get them off the streets and housed.
And thank you again. So that's the last question that I have in right now, and I'll remind the audience that it does take a moment or two with the technology for the questions to come in. So if any further come in when we transition into the next presentation, I'll certainly keep those in our queue, and we'll get back to this first team if any more questions do come in. With that, I'll turn it back over to Andrew to introduce our next presentation. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you very much, Aaron, and thank you to Nikki and to Kelly for that excellent presentation. We understand as a community just how important it is to address homelessness in our community, and I couldn't be prouder of the work that our staff is doing. So kudos to all that you do, and I really appreciate the presentation. Next up, performance measure 3.20. Dementia Friendly Community designation. Today we have Candace Hewitt, Jan Doherty, and Allison Burke.
Hi, I'm Candace Hewitt, and I'm a Senior Social Services Coordinator on the Human Services team.
And my name is Jan Doherty. I am a Tempe resident and advanced practice nurse, and I serve on the Dementia Friendly Tempe Action Team.
Hi there, I'm Allison Burke. I'm a Human Services Supervisor, and I am on the Family, Education, and Community Support section of the Human Services Department. I think we're ready to get started. So good afternoon again. We are here to discuss Dementia Friendly Community designation. And so we'll start off by just asking, what is a Dementia Friendly Community? And so it's an inclusive, informed, safe, and respectful community for people living with dementia. And to accomplish this, what we're doing is we're working on raising awareness about dementia, transforming attitudes, and moving people into action. We're also creating supports that foster quality of life for persons touched by the disease and their caregivers and families. And we're working to engage diverse populations, as well as we are promoting community life and encouraging people who live, work, and play in Tempe to become a dementia friend. Next slide, please.
We'd like you to consider why fostering a dementia-friendly community matters. Let's see what you think as we watch this short video.
If you saw someone living with dementia, would you recognize the signs? Would you be uncomfortable? Would you avoid them? Would you be frustrated? Would you do nothing?
Next slide. Creating and sustaining a dementia-friendly community aligns with City Council Priority 3, Quality of Life. Enhancing the quality of life for all Tempe residents and workers through investment in neighborhoods, parks, the arts, human services, and city amenities, with an emphasis on equity and diversity. Next slide.
So how do we measure success? For this priority, the performance measure is achieve ratings of very satisfied or satisfied with Tempe's engagement and inclusion of those living with dementia, their care partners, and their families greater than 75% as measured in the community survey and by 2025. Next slide, please.
Why does this measure matter? We have entered a time of profound and permanent change to the demographic composition of the United States. Every day, 10,000 boomers turn 65. By 2030, the U.S. will have twice as many people over the age of 65 as we have today. Next slide.
Again, why does this measure matter? Well, every state and every community is aging. And as you can see on the screen, the dark blue indicates the percent of the population that's 65 and older. And this is what it looked like in 2010. If we can click, we'll fast forward to 2020. And you'll notice that the country is aging really quickly and will continue to do so over the next 15 years. There are almost 46 million people that are age 65 plus today, and that's projected to increase to 73 million by 2030. So by then, 1 out of every 5 people in the country will be age 65 or older. Next slide, please.
And so this becomes an important matter as we think about age as a risk factor, and probably the greatest risk factor for developing Alzheimer's disease or other forms of dementia. We know that about 10% of people at age 65 will be affected by Alzheimer's disease. And perhaps to keep in mind that about 500,000 people are under age 65 who develop these conditions as well. But by age 75, somewhere around 27% of people will develop Alzheimer's disease. And as we reach age 85 and over, it's estimated that as many as half of individuals could be affected by Alzheimer's disease or related dementia. And we know that we are an aging nation and we are enjoying some of the benefits of living longer, but one of the risks certainly is that of developing a dementia. So let's explore that a bit more on the next slide. So people often ask, what is dementia? And it's really not a specific diagnosis, rather it's what we call an umbrella term, meaning that it's really used to describe a range of conditions that have these changes in cognition and memory and thinking. So oftentimes we think about memory loss and we think that specifically speaks more to Alzheimer's disease, but some people develop thinking problems, problem solving. They have trouble reasoning. They just simply don't understand. Other people develop problems with language, whether it be their ability to put sentences together or even understand what's being said. There can be subsequently a change in how people function day to day. And because of that, personality can change, mood can change, and when we lose the ability to communicate effectively, we act on it, meaning our behaviors often drive our communication. And so we know that there's a whole host of things that can happen in these conditions. And in fact, I think many of us are all too familiar with seeing silver alerts on our freeways as we're driving home that really speak to that people's eye and brain connections just aren't connecting, meaning they're seeing things, but their ability to interpret where they are in space becomes very confused. So you can see under this graphic of dementia, the major forms of dementia, Alzheimer's disease being the most common type of dementia. 75–80% of people we believe will have this form of dementia. But other people can have stroke-related dementia. We see that certainly far more in Black, Latino populations. Lewy body dementia are people who have kind of a bit of, it looks like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's mixed together, but again has a different presentation. And then these frontal temporal dementias really speak to the part of the brain being affected, often impacting younger adults more. In fact, as we worked with our police officers and our fire personnel, this was one of the diseases we spoke to because they often are younger adults who have behavioral disturbance. So the next slide, please. So why does this measure matter as we think about this nationally? We know that 80% of people who are living with Alzheimer's disease or related dementia are living at home and in the community, and they're living there largely because they have family and friends who can be very, very supportive of them. But another, I think, number to note is looking at the number of people who are presenting with Alzheimer's disease or related dementia who are living alone. So the estimates are about 1 in 5 people are now living alone. And I think in our experience with the wonderful program that we have, the patient assistance program through Tempe Fire, they are serving a lot of these individuals who are struggling and getting by, and our Care 7 are often responding to these folks. One comment I will make is that about half of these people living with dementia will never be told by a physician that they have one. So without understanding that you have a condition, you can see where families might struggle with reaching out and getting the kind of help and assistance they need. Next slide.
Thank you, Jan. So we have to think about what is the national goal then. And Dementia Friendly America is our national network of communities, organizations, and individuals who are seeking to ensure that communities across the U.S. are equipped to support people, whether they have that diagnosis or not, and also to support the people who are caring for them. Tempe is the state's first dementia-friendly city, so that's something to celebrate for us, and we are part of Dementia Friendly America as the initiative. And we got involved early on. So in 2015, the White House, at the White House Conference on Aging, the city of Tempe was designated as one of 6 up-and-coming dementia-friendly communities, and we were tasked with helping lead the national collaboration. In 2016, we were already doing that by launching Dementia Friendly Tempe, and we did that in partnership with Banner Alzheimer's Institute, making a strong partnership to make Tempe a livable place for those that are suffering from dementia as well as their caregivers. And we are offering supports through trainings and programs and resources that are available to employees and to the public as well. And it's pretty interesting and a proud moment to say that there actually are now 40 states that are engaged in this work with us. Next slide, please.
So why is this important for Tempe? In Tempe, about 1,500 people over age 65 have dementia. However, Arizona will experience the second highest increase in the nation of people living with dementia in the next 10 years. This means that Tempe's affected population will grow to over 3,000 residents. It's important to remember that dementia is not a singular diagnosis. It impacts families and caregivers. With this in mind, the estimated number would actually increase by 3 to 4 individuals per diagnosis. In other words, we're giving consideration to the person with memory loss and those caring for them. Next slide.
As a dementia-friendly community, we have 4 strategies, or actually 4 buckets that our strategies fall into. And these areas overlap to create a net for how we envision our resources, programs, and services for those that are suffering from memory loss and for their caregivers, as well as for the larger community. Next slide, please.
I'm going to touch on a couple of the strategies listed on this slide. Dementia Friendly Tempe Presents is a free monthly lecture series with topics about dementia presented by professionals and community members. Some of our prior presentations were recorded and are available for viewing by visiting our website, www.tempe.gov/DFT. Memory Cafe is a virtual caregiver support group that meets twice a month, and also provides information on community virtual programs and activities for people living with dementia. Dementia Friends is an hour-long training session to learn what it's like to live with dementia and then turn that understanding into action, learning small ways to help people living with memory loss. The training sessions are available to employees and residents. Dementia Friends Arizona reports that over 1,000 new Dementia Friends were trained in 2020, and Arizona now has over 7,000 Dementia Friends statewide. Employee awareness. As we move forward creating a dementia-friendly community, we recognize how important it is to start from the ground up, beginning dementia-friendly awareness for our city employees. Right now, we are encouraging city employees to attend the training to become a dementia friend. We are offering training directly to staff during their department meetings, as well as setting up other virtual training opportunities. We feel a critical step in creating a dementia-friendly community is to make this training available to as many city employees as possible to help staff start thinking and looking at their programs and job responsibilities through a dementia-friendly lens. Next slide. Some of the benefits of transitioning our programs to virtual have been the skills and confidence that caregivers have developed after learning how to join our virtual programs. Many of these individuals are now comfortable connecting virtually with friends and family, worship services, telemed appointments, webinars, etc. We've come to realize that offering virtual supports meets a need that we were not aware of, and that this may be an option that will continue even after in-person meetings have resumed. A virtual support group also provides an opportunity for people to attend who don't live in Tempe. Previous members who were no longer able to attend in person due to distance, work, or needs of their loved one are now able to attend meetings again. Dawn, a new member, wrote us, "Thank you. The cafe today was wonderful and the missing piece I've been needing to this new caretaker role." Next slide.
Thank you, Candace. So as we're talking about where we have some successes and we are seeing that we're making an impact, we're also looking at what are we learning. So I want to just circle back to our performance measure, which is achieve ratings of very satisfied or satisfied with Tempe's engagement and inclusion in the programs that were offered. And we're shooting for that 75% that you see on the screen, and we're trying to get there by 2025. So we've got some work to do still. The 2020 community survey results show that 53.71% of our customers that actually responded to the survey and this question were very satisfied or satisfied. As we dive a little bit deeper into the trend data for this survey question, you'll notice by the geographical area that there's a large positive change in satisfaction indicated in those dark green areas from those that are living in North Tempe, while responders in the Rio Salado, the downtown, ASU, Northwest, and Apache areas saw their satisfaction fall in 2020, which is indicated in dark pink. So this is a growth opportunity for us as we move forward and evaluate our transitions of services that we had during the COVID-19 time that we're still in. We went from in-person to virtual, and we're hoping in the future to go to a hybrid, as Candace mentioned, and then back in person. But as we're analyzing the trend data, we have to look at these shifts in satisfaction and really question, is that due to access to virtual programs, due to access to devices, or something completely different, other factors? We do know that we want to concentrate our awareness efforts and our outreach in those dark pink areas in the future. And then additionally, I'm going to turn it over to Jan here in a second so she can talk about some of the measures that Banner was looking at through the collaboration that was funded by Tempe Community Council Agency review process. So next slide, please. And Jan, take it away.
Yeah, so many of these metrics too were really related to some of the needs assessment we did as we began these efforts with Dementia Friendly Tempe. So the Memory Cafe really served as a cornerstone in many ways as we began to really look at how could we better fundamentally serve people living with dementia as well as their caregivers. And from this, we started doing some measures because we know that caregivers, 80% of them will report feeling stress, and that caregiver burden is another measure. And so we began to look at that and see that caregivers who were consistently coming to the Memory Cafe and having that added education and support reduced, in fact, their reported levels of stress and burden. As well as, it was really important in our Memory Cafe, this was pre-COVID, when we were able to meet in person. We had a caregiver support portion while we had people living with dementia engaged in just a variety of really interesting cognitive creative sort of activities. And we did see, in fact, positive reports of individuals being actively engaged during these sessions and often reporting to their caregiver that this was fun. And we saw both caregiver and person living with dementia really looking forward to coming to our Monday gathering, something we all, I think, hope for again. Again, these monthly lectures were also a key part of our strategy right from the get-go, as we recognized that our community needed to learn more, and particularly families who were affected by Alzheimer's disease or related dementia not only needed to know more about the condition, but as importantly, they needed to know where to go to find help. And some of our needs assessment showed that they didn't have an idea of where to go. There was no consistency with helping them find the assistance they need. And so one of our measures in this particular area is that at least 85% of them would be able to name at least one community service or organization that would provide accessibility to a service that they might be needing. Again, Dementia Friends, which you heard about, which we really hope that our Tempe employees will take advantage of. Right from the get-go, I'll give a shout out to our Chief of Police and our Chief of Fire, who were very much in support of educating our first responders to what dementia looks like and how they could better communicate and respond in these situations. And so we were able to do some follow-up measures through SurveyMonkey with Tempe Police, and found, in fact, that we did meet our measures, that they were better able to identify what dementia looks like. And since much of the class really focuses on communication skills, they really reported that communication abilities improved. And then finally, we've had some greater ambitions on behalf of Banner Alzheimer's Institute, and I was an employee with them. And so the Tempe, I think, model really served as a tremendous way for us to motivate, if you will, other cities within the state to come together. And so, in fact, we did have a statewide Dementia Friendly Conference in early 2019, pre-COVID, and we had a goal of that at least 2 cities or counties, organizations would work towards dementia friendly status. Well, I'm here to tell you today, surprise came on right about the time we launched. Phoenix announced that they were next. We now have Glendale, Sun Lakes, and Mesa also joining us as dementia friendly cities. Tucson is still in exploration, as in Scottsdale, but we're hopeful that they'll move ahead, as well as some of our tribal communities. So we feel very, very good about the progress that we've made to date, even in the face of this pandemic. So next slide.
Thank you, Jan. So we want to just kind of again circle back and have you consider why fostering a dementia-friendly community matters. And we're going to go back to revisit the video that we began our presentation with and see what you think.
Or would you be a friend? Would you engage them and empower them to get through their day? Would you welcome the opportunity to help them feel like a part of your community? Would you take even the smallest step to make their world less frightening or confusing? Every single one of us has a unique part to play in the lives of people living with dementia in our community. Become a dementia friend today and build communities where all people can live, age, and thrive.
Hey, Mr. Fredrickson, it's Tuesday. Aren't you going to the store?
Yeah.
Come on, I'll walk with you.
Find out more at dementiafriendsusa.org.
Next slide, please. So we'd like to invite you to engage in dementia-friendly Tempe efforts, and we do have 2 upcoming learning opportunities. On April 14th, Dementia Friendly Tempe Presents will be exploring helping families with decision making. And then on April 28th, we hope you're going to become a part of our supportive community by attending the Dementia Friends training session. And again, that's open to our employees as well as residents. And that's the one that has been referenced a couple times throughout the presentation, up to where we have about 7,000 people in the state right now that are Dementia Friends. So we'd like to start really seeing our numbers in Tempe skyrocket. To register, you would want to go to www.tempe.gov/DFT. And while you're there, we hope you'll linger a little bit and look at some of the web resources that you can see that include access to some of our past presentations for Dementia Friendly Presents. Next slide, please.
The 6th annual Dementia Friendly Tempe Summit will be coming this fall. Join us and learn more about living well with dementia. Next slide.
So we're going to open it up, I think, to the audience for some ideas, if you have them, to help us or inform us about how we might reach residents a little bit better in our efforts. If you have suggestions, we're always open to those, as well as we are happy to answer any questions that you may have for us today. And our information is up on the screen so that you can contact us or reach out to us afterwards as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, team. This is Aaron again, Office of Strategic Management and Diversity, and I've been monitoring the questions. Just to remind the audience that you can submit a question using the Q&A feature upper right-hand corner of your screen. And with that, let me go ahead and share the first question with our team. What preventative measures can I take now to try to prevent dementia?
So this is Jan. I think I'll take that. That's right up my alley. And, you know, I think this is a really important one. In the past, I think there was a sense that nothing could be done to prevent Alzheimer's disease or related dementia. The reality is nothing could be further from the truth. So there is growing and very good evidence, first around physical exercise. So we want you to break a sweat 30 minutes a day, at least 5 times a week. We know that, you know, when you perfuse your brain, you're lighting it up, the memory, the thinking centers, the language centers. So I'd say get on your treadmill, get on your bike, go take a walk during your break. It really does matter. In addition to that, I think it's really important that people who have especially high blood pressure, diabetes, that those be well monitored and well controlled. We know that, in fact, having diabetes will exponentially increase your risk of developing Alzheimer's disease, particularly if blood sugars aren't well controlled. So managing that, especially in middle life, becomes very, very important. We know that cognitive activity, so learning new things, this idea of use it or lose it really becomes an important aspect of life. Now that doesn't mean we have to go back to school or we have to learn a second language. Rather, it's just learning something new routinely. Perhaps it's a new route on the way to work when everybody starts going back to work. It's about staying engaged. And in fact, this is one of the really important aspects of our Memory Cafe, is keeping people engaged with one another. Study after study really demonstrates that when we stay engaged and involved in our community, wherever that might be, in our neighborhood or faith community, that these individuals tend to have much lower levels of dementia. And then finally, I'll talk about sleep and say that sleep is a really important mechanism in brain health. So much restoration happens during sleep, and we are a sleepless nation. So I would say something like a good night's sleep also really helps towards brain health. So much that we can do to make a difference now in our later years.
Great, thank you. The next question is, where does the funding for this program come from? You mentioned the White House, so does that mean it's federally funded?
I can tackle that one. No, we do not currently have funding coming, federal funding right now, but we do have grant opportunities. So our programs are greatly supported through grant opportunities that we work as a team and through our action team to secure, to ensure that that this continues. And then our positions are supported by the city's general fund. So it isn't anything that is going to be going away, but we like to develop and support the programs and enhance the programs, and do that through grant applications. We also have a lot of support coming from community stakeholders like TCAA and the grant funding opportunities that are there for residents to get involved and suggest ways to support programs. So there's just a lot of different funding sources that come together to sustain that. And then I'll let Jan jump in if she has any other comments that she wants to add there too.
Yeah, so I will say, so I was a founding member from Banner Alzheimer's Institute, involved with this with former Mayor Mitchell, and I really want to give a shout out to the city for their support. I mean, obviously the partnership was really important as we brought dementia expertise. But as we look and we see the city's commitment to bringing Allie and Candace on, who have been just instrumental in continuing to drive these efforts, this is, I think, Tempe should feel proud for how it has really owned this program. And we've had tremendous success with just individual donors who have been touched by this program and want to make a difference. So we really need these public-private partnerships as we look at these new models of how we build healthy communities.
Okay, thank you. Next question is, what should I do if I suspect a loved one may have dementia?
Well, that would be my question once again from Jan. So, you know, certainly you can begin with having a discussion when appropriate to the person to ask if they've noted any changes in their memory and thinking abilities, with gently saying, you know, gee, Dad, I've noticed this is different about you. But let's say Dad tends to get argumentative and or has very limited insight, which happens to many people. Then it becomes really important to figure out how are we going to work with Dad's doctor. And I'm a big fan of primary care physicians, that we often should begin there, especially with many older adults have had long relationships with primary care physicians or nurse practitioners, to really begin there, to begin exploring what has changed in this person's thinking and memory abilities. And when necessary, certainly they can go on to specialty centers, and we've got tremendous ones here at Banner Alzheimer's Institute, the Barrow Neurological Institute, Mayo Clinic, Banner Sun Health. All of them have memory centers that can really aid not only in securing a diagnosis for the person, but really assisting the family to learn new ways to find success in their caregiving efforts. Then I would just say our memory cafes, I think, have been another conduit, not only in Tempe leading the way. We were one of the very first memory cafes, and many now have modeled off the work that we're doing. And I think it's in here that many times families come and they get tremendous suggestions from other family members who've had a life situation like this. How do I get my husband to go in for an evaluation, or my mother refuses to go? They learn really helpful strategies from other families.
Thank you. The next question is, what is involved in making a donation? What kind of transparency surrounds the use of donations to this program?
I can take that one too. This is Allie. Thank you for the question. Donations, the process is actually would really be to reach out to Candace or I. We're looking in the future to have a way for people to donate maybe possibly even online, but we're not quite there yet. So if you reach out to us, then we are able to give you the route for to accept the donation. And then donations go through a process that we get council approval, seek council approval to accept the donations. And therefore it is very transparent because it goes through a city council meeting and is approved in a public forum. So I think that answers the question. Let me know if there's more to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question is, how does DFT change the stigma around living with dementia?
I will take that one. This is Allie again. It's a great question. Our Dementia Friends training is a really important step toward educating our community and Tempe employees to actually just remove that stigma. I think if we are providing information and education around something that people may not be familiar with, it helps to develop that understanding and the empathy about what it might be like to be suffering from dementia, but also what it's like to be a caretaker. And we're seeing a lot of fatigue right now during the pandemic, and anybody that's in a caretaker role, whether that's of a person suffering from memory loss, a parent, or anything else. So those education pieces and support pieces are really important to remove the stigma. It's important to remember that the person that is in front of you is more than the diagnosis, and that's if they even get a diagnosis, as Jan mentioned. And so our goal is to empower people with knowledge about how to positively respond to people and how to help them learn how to interact with a person with, that's living with dementia. And there's actual strategies there that we can impart and help people understand. So when they encounter individuals that may have memory loss or dementia while doing their job or in their personal lives or even out in the community, they're better equipped with responses instead of, it really kind of speaks to the video that we showed at the beginning. You saw kind of the stigma in place, and hopefully by the end of that video, it brought you around to seeing what it might look like to have some strategies and be supportive.
Thank you. And with that, I'll remind everyone that if you have a question that occurs to you later, we have provided the phone numbers and email addresses to all three of our presenters. Do feel free to reach out to them in the future if a question occurs to you later. Also, I have posted the link so that you can access our survey. We greatly appreciate you taking a few moments to fill that out and submit that. It gives us good feedback on how to make these sessions even better in the future. You can also see future sessions in that calendar, as well as an additional link to look at other performance measures that we have available and our city staff are working on. And with that, I'll turn it over to Andrew. Thank you, everyone.
And thank you, Aaron. I really appreciate Allie, Candace, and Jan for their very informative presentation. As someone who has had loved ones, people close to me, struggle with dementia, it means a lot to see the kind of work that's being done here in the city of Tempe and have the opportunity to speak about it today and let the public know where we're at with it and where we want to go. Your feedback, your input in this very important initiative, and also the initiatives that you heard about regarding ending homelessness in our community. Really appreciate the work. So thank you again for tuning in today. Our next Accelerate session, as you can see up on the screen, is scheduled for April 8th, same time, 2 to 3 p.m. We'll be talking about community carbon neutrality and carbon neutrality. You'll find out the difference. We also show you the upcoming sessions on April 22nd and May 6th. As always, you can go to the Tempe Accelerates page on the Tempe website and find out all that information about the full calendar and what all we're doing here at the City of Tempe. So again, I appreciate your time today. Really appreciate both teams of presenters and congratulate the great work that's being done. And thank you very much.
Thank you.